Hi guys, how are you doing today? Today I will introduce you to a guy who, like me, doesn't accept anything to be impossible in life. And we will talk about Bitcoin and how you can make Bitcoin out of thin air.
You can take it. You can take one more and one more and one more. And I think it's enough for today.
Hi again, here in Warsaw. Behind us you can see the Palace of Culture and Science.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This is my friend Y. He is a TV star and with 700,000 subscribers, one of the most famous magicians on YouTube, and for me the best magician in the world.
Oh no. Not yet, maybe. But thank you. Thank you.
So why? How did we actually get to know each other?
So the story is interesting because I would consider you a kind of magical person, maybe not a magician, but I've seen your TED Talk, and I was thinking it's kind of interesting to see somebody that does not have a background in magic, but think like a magician, do not accept anything is possible, and maybe it's something like for me it's really important in order to create great magic, just to think outside of the box and just do not think something is impossible. I would never say something is impossible. So I wrote an email, because how you can contact somebody these days? You can write an email, and I didn't do it often, just to be precise, but if I want to contact somebody, even if somebody is unreachable, and I think you have the same thing with billionaires that are like the most inaccessible people in the world, and I just emailed and you respond, and I wrote you about how your thinking is like a magician, and I actually expected you to have some sort of background, because sometimes you don't know that somebody is doing a business, but maybe in the childhood or in the area in their life they would stumble upon the magic. There are a lot of people like this, but you didn't. But still, thinking is really possible, and some things that I learned from you I still use in order to create impossible. For example, I remember from the TED Talk the one thing that if you want to do something and somebody did it already, just ask him. Okay, so
right, a very simple rule that really works in life.
Yeah.
All right. So what else do we learn from that story?
Yeah, because I would say this is one of the stories that would be a good example of what I'm thinking. That sometimes we think that impossible, but that something is impossible. But we think it too soon, right?
Right.
So if
you haven't even tried to achieve it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you haven't tried, how do you know it's impossible? And when you think that it's impossible to contact somebody from the internet, you've seen somebody, an entrepreneur or a billionaire, then think about Elon Musk, who recently shot a car to Mars, right?
Right.
You would say it's impossible, right? So I think there are no limits into what is possible, but what is not, and I think the word is just an excuse sometimes for us.
Absolutely. So you are a showmaster right now, huge audience, but you haven't been always like that in your life, right? You used to be a shy boy, and you had a fear of stage. How did you overcome it?
So I think nobody would believe me like this, but I have actually tested out, and I'm an introvert person. So I would say I wanna to have, like, if I would spend an evening, I would say in my house, read books, and I was really interested in magic, in card cheating and everything. But I realized at one point that in order to create magic is to have an audience, because magic is for audience, and if somebody thinks that sitting in his room and practicing card moves is magic, it's not. Magic is when you show it to people, and the illusion of magic pops in their mind, and they think what you've done is magic. Hopefully,
and you stun them.
And you inspire them. So when I realized it, I realized that I have to overcome my fears. So one of the biggest would be to go on stage and perform. And right now I do it regularly without even thinking. And I'm probably the one thing that people say after my show is the most often they would say not that the magic was great, because they say, oh, magic was cool, but they say that I was so casual in this on the stage, so like my being on the stage is so natural and authentic, and that was really enjoyable for them. So for me it's like the most important thing, and this is something I have to really practice really hard with a lot of stress. One story, I was so stressed once in Polish Got Talent show, that I was dehydrated actually, and my hands were like this, shaking because of dehydration. But after the show I spoke to a medical person, and I asked them if they can give me something to just calm down, because my heart was like and they said he asked to see my tongue, and he said I'm dehydrated. They say after that I have to drink 2 liters of water before every show, which is a lot, because we say 2 liters of water per day, but I actually drink a lot of water before the show. And here again you have a great solution for something that would be impossible for most of the people that would say they're shaking hands, and sometimes it's so simple, just the lack of water.
Absolutely. Talking about you being casual on stage, check out the tricks, the magic tricks of Magic of Why. I think this is the name of your channel.
Yeah, Magic of Why.
These are really amazing. After Why contacted me, I just checked them out and found them really inspiring and also somehow heartwarming. Check them out. I will connect your channel here.
Okay.
And so this was one of the things, and you wrote actually a book about that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, actually I wrote a book about that. It's in Polish, it's called 13 Steps to Become Magical, because I say there's like some sort of 13 qualities I think that are necessary to be a magical person, and one of this is actually to be confidence, but there are others, and I think the confidence, simply just being confident is not enough to be magical. But there are people that are not magicians, but they have a magical life like yours, and they think like magicians. And this is what I have in this book. I wrote it down, my story and how I become a magical person, and I try to share it with people.
So can you tell us like maybe 3 steps out of all these steps, how you overcame these fears, maybe? And then we'll talk a little bit more about magic.
Yeah. So people would say like get confident, and maybe like somebody would say you done a great job, some compliments, but I think it doesn't work. The first thing, if you want to overcome all the fears, is just to be good at it. Whatever you do, just try to be the best you can, because then you
get the confidence with
that,
that,
you get
right? Because
the real
good,
confidence,
right?
And I would say in my book I stated that the real modesty is actually being confident. Because for me, if you want to be modest, you have to be confident that what you are doing and what you can do, your skills are actually there. Right? It's kind of hard if you haven't practiced.
So if you need it, you can use your skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So this would be the one of the things. The second one would be just to enjoy what you do, love people, because people will love you back. And if you just focus on what you're doing, like playing guitar or doing magic, it doesn't matter, because without people.
So especially the fear on stage, right?
Yeah.
If you focus on what you are giving instead of performing,
exactly.
or instead of showing off or something, this is something that changes your mindset, right?
Exactly. And then you remember that those are people too, so you fear less. And the third thing would be simple. Remember that there are things that you are in control of, and there are things that you are not in control of. And you have to worry only about the things that you are in control of, so you can do the others.
You can't change anyway, right?
Yeah, if somebody would be drunk in the audience and would just yell at you, you can think about the ways to put the heckler down. But if you do not, it's not your fault that this person is basically rude, right? So don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Okay, so what I think somehow connects us, I mean, there are several things that connects us. That's why we do this interview together, and that's why, we became friends also.
Yeah.
But one of the aspects is doing the impossible, right? You are a magician, so you have a slightly probably different perspective on that from most of the people, probably, or maybe also from me. What is your perspective as a magician on the topic of possible, impossible in life?
When you talk with me, you would never hear the word impossible. Just simply, it's not in my dictionary. This is the first thing, and just to make it short, like really something that will pops into your minds wherever you think something is impossible. Even the word impossible says I'm possible,
right?
And actually, this is something really silly for me, but this is something to remember, that everything is possible. Like really, truly, everything is possible if you think about it really well. And especially with magic. With magic is that you try to create something impossible, the illusion of impossible, but there are methods to it. And the stuff that weren't possible 50 years ago, it's possible right now. And you don't have to be a magician to notice that, because if you take out your smartphone from your pocket, you actually have something that would be considered magic 20 years ago, right?
I have one, actually.
This guy, right? So 20 years ago, someone would say it's impossible. Remember when the phones were getting smaller and smaller, when it was millennium, right? The people would say that touch screens wouldn't be something that would be in the future, right? We will say that everything will be smaller, but the phones are much bigger than those days. So there is a great saying that magic is just a technology that we don't understand yet. And I love this, because actually magicians try to be in front of technology in order to create astonishment and wonder. And a lot of magicians constructed the things that were the first, like Georges Méliès was actually a magician, and he was really famous movie maker, one of the firsts. So I think for me it's like focus on thinking how you can overcome those, I would not say problems, but challenges, and try to construct your language and your thinking into the thinking of a person that do stuff, instead of just complaining that something is impossible.
Right. What about like magic situations in life? Do you
I think life is magic. Like if you think, like if you look at just Fibonacci proportions, right? Everywhere. How is it possible, right? That everywhere is Fibonacci 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and there's a lot of magic that we do not appreciate yet. There is magic of friendship, of getting to know other people you introduced me to, and we have a friend, and we met just once, and then I was in LA and she lives there, and she just spent the whole day with me, and it was really, really, really nice and kind. So for me, magic is in people, simply, and remember that everything is about people. In the world,
in business and in life, everything is about people.
Everything is about people. So magic is in people, and for me, life is magic, simply.
So I wanted to ask you this question: what is magic for you? But you actually answered it with
exactly
already,
exactly,
right? Yeah. So life is magic. Yeah, this is actually what I think also. There is a lot of magic in everyday life that we just don't see, or we don't see it as magic. But let's come back to the topic of cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
Because, I'm one of the guys who made a lot of money in cryptocurrencies, and I thought like in the year 2017, last year, it was virtually impossible not to make money in crypto, right? If you got in touch with crypto, you just had to make money.
Yeah.
But you are actually one of the guys who lost almost $1 million dollars in 2017 in crypto. I mean, how is it possible? How did you manage to do that?
So it sounds crazy, but it's actually not. One company that I earned some money, just a little money, actually offered to cash out in Ethereum, and if I would cash out, then I would be having around 900 Ethereums. So then the Ethereum have the pop, and I still didn't cash out actually.
And you kept it in fiat. Now you can get so 900 Ethereum is now like around $800,000 that you don't have. You just have what?
But
like
I say
$300, right?
Yeah, but I kept up your bitcoins and more bitcoins, so I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. So learning from that experience as a magician, I think you had to come up with an idea to somehow make bitcoins out of thin air, and this is actually what the viewers are waiting for you to show us.
Show you the way
how to make bitcoins
for real, like not the magic, like for real.
Out of thin air. So how do you do that? Like fiat.
Do you have
like they do it in with fiat?
First of all, we
banks.
need a coin. Do you have some coins?
Yeah, I do. Here I have some coins. American ones, English ones. Which one do you wish?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you a coin. Watch, you take the coin. Actually, I'm gonna show you exactly. You take the coin, okay? Coin.
Right.
And you bite the coin. And I beat coin.
Yeah, you beat the coin, right? It's a Bitcoin, right?
It's a joke. I beat the coin. So sorry for reading it. Sorry, you keep it. I beat the coin. So Bitcoin is a joke, lame joke. But anyway, I would say magic is intended to not be used in your own gain. So I cannot actually do it. But you have some more coins, actually?
Yeah, I do. I have like dollars. What about dollars?
Everybody wants dollars, right?
Right.
Everybody wants dollars, so
I think nowadays everybody wants Bitcoin. How can you make it a Bitcoin?
You can make it bigger. You can make it bigger. So here you have.
So I wonder if they accept that next time I am in the States.
Yeah, you can try. You can try. So actually, you say you know, like I do it for entertainment, and I sometimes predict the outcome of my show. But truth to be told, I never would do it for my gain. It's like cheating. And if somebody would ask me if I want to win a lottery, I would say I don't want to win lottery. I would rather. I realized after
learn how to make millions, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because when you think about it, like I've made some of my dreams come true. For example, I produced my playing cards in the best company in the world, and I always dream about it, and I will give it away for somebody.
Okay, so provide your comments below this video. I will choose 2 best comments or shares. Share this video with your friends, with your loved ones. We will give away 2 card sets, and these are really high quality sets. You were telling me they are limited editions, and after they are given away, they can be sold like for
if you
hundreds of dollars.
If you kept them in a foil, they are collectible. They're like bitcoins. There are some of the decks that I produced are like 20 of their value right now, or maybe even more.
So they can raise in value more than Bitcoin in 2018.
Yeah, it's probable.
Also, I am a big Bitcoin fan. So every card set I got from you, I keep in original, in order, to someday to tell I got it personally from this famous guy card set.
Yeah, and talking about the dreams, that was my dream, and after 5 or 6 decks we actually produced, I realized that the dream of having my own playing cards was not the dream. The dream was to have this road in which I was able to produce it, because I do it in crowdfunding, and I found the people that are genuinely in love with playing cards, just like me, my fans, and other people that wanted to create it with me, and the experience is much more important than the outcome.
So, if you like this video, give me a thumb up, and check out my other videos, and of course the channel of Magic of Y. I will link it here. So, see you next time.
Bye bye.